Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So a lot of people already have been messaging me and asking for a guide and best counters and who works and who doesn't. And I did do a very quick brief run with a fairly stacked team yesterday initially. Then I did an entire stream where I tested out different solutions for different things. And I also did like an itemless run with 4 stars, rank 3, 5 stars only. And now I feel fairly comfortable answering a lot of those questions. So we're going to go through fight by fight about this International Women's Day boss rush. And we're going to break all the nodes down. So first, we have this Elsa Bloodstone over here. And special thanks to Starfighter for designing this fight. And I actually quite like this fight. I don't think it's anything too tricky. Now, this track might seem like a node that is kind of like selective, but they also give you life transfer and got a light. So technically, any champion that is not inflicting bleeds outside of mutant class works for this fight. You can quite literally use anyone. Obviously, some champions are better than others. Apocalypse, for instance, absolutely shreds this fight. You can use Cosmic Ghost Rider. You can use Archangel, who also benefits from the bleed vulnerability. But thanks to life transfer, you pretty much always finish this fight with a full health, and it's a fairly straightforward fight. Ideally, you just bring in some champions that deal some debuffs, then got a light helps you get some other ones. And yeah, don't forget that if you make her bleed and you're not a mutant champion, you will suffer the consequences. So you can use mutants with the bleed, or pretty much any other champion that ideally has some access to debuffs without the bleed. As I mentioned previously, Apocalypse, fantastic option, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Archangel, why not? Used a lot of them. Keep in mind that Elsa Bloodstone shrugs non-damaging debuffs, so champions who inflict poison, incinerate, shock, cold snap, that kind of stuff work best here. And yeah, we can move on to the next one. I don't think that one requires too much of a countering and guiding. Now, a lot of people have been struggling with this Sorcerer Supreme, and I actually find the fight relatively straightforward. The key to this fight is to ignore everything else and work around the aspect of evolution. The longer the fight goes, the more block damage you take, the harder it is. What you want is ideally take her down very quickly. So Human Torch does a fantastic job here, and there are other few surprising counters to this fight. You can also approach this fight a bit differently, and you can use a Void. I actually did this fight earlier this morning using a 3-star Void as well, so any type of Void works, because once you get the Petrifies on her, she never reaches a new bar of power, and it's kind of just pounding her in the corner, baiting out heavy attacks, and smashing in at her. There is a tricky hidden combination with that Shatter node, where every time she gets to nullify a buff, you suffer direct damage, 1300, and that's also including dexterity buff. So you do need to be tricky, and ideally you want to push her to level 2s. Now, one very out there solution that I found yesterday's stream was Mole-Man, because with Mole-Man you can use Under Pressure node, which inflicts disorient when you dash back twice, to stack up your charges. And once you have gotten semi-decent amount of charges stacked up, and at that point, you can quite simply just let her hit your block, and you get an opening that way. So it works around that stun immunity, and you can get a very, very easy, quick, simple, straightforward opening. Another champion that can work absolutely wonderful here is Immortal Abomination. Immortal Abomination did a great job, but quite honestly, you can take her down with any high damage output champion like I did it with Massacre. But again, the best options, Void, Human Torch, Apocalypse with 4 charges is fantastic option because you can block break. So if you brought in Cable Synergy, you can use Apocalypse for first 2 fights. Wonderful, wonderful solution. Or yeah, Red Hulk will work as well. And then a whole bunch of other champions. The trick is to try and kill her fast. Speed, here is the answer. Now, Black Widow. And Black Widow is a very fun fight. She has stun vulnerability, but most of the champions do not get to benefit from it too much because she's hard to parry with increased ability accuracy. She has increased power gain and also power reserve. So the entire point is that you're basically going to end up endlessly baiting out special attacks from this champion. However, keep a couple of champions in mind. For instance, long shot ability accuracy cannot be reduced, therefore you will land your parries effectively. And long shot is going to absolutely nuke down this Black Widow because you can parry freely, and once you drop your level 2, every time she activates a special attack, which she will like to do a lot, she's going to take incinerate damage, and you can just kind of like more or less keep that incinerate on her for vast majority of the fight. So Longshot's fantastic option. Archangel as well lands the parries in here freely, therefore he works perfect. Very, very cheesy option here is Professor X, because Professor X plus Power Reserve node means he can throw specials basically infinitely for as long as his like mind control thingy is active. So once you get to your level 2, you have won the fight. That's literally it. Get to level 2, get to 100 charges, and you can nuke her down. She can't use special attack, and she's gonna be dead. That's about as simple as that. And another interesting thing that you can do, because of Power Reserve, using Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, or perhaps even better, Hulkbuster, because Hulkbuster's specials are unblockable in case she does evade, you can infinitely stun loop her. You can quite literally bring in Hulkbuster, get to a level 1, start spamming your level 1, and that's it. You're gonna infinitely stun loop her. So it's a kind of cheesy fight if you know what you're doing. Definitely not overall the hardest. This fight's a bit tricky with Conflictor, which is basically masochism. Instead of healing, it gives her power. Feats of energy, rich get richer, minor aspect of death, and disarray. The way this fight works, it's quite crazy, and your first goal is to slow it down, because she's going to be gaining power via several different means. So basically, disarray, whenever each champion any of the champions activate special attack, you and Jubilee get a random buff or debuff. If that happens to be a debuff, then that Conflictor node can shrug it off and give her 50% bar power. So that automatically can give her basically half a bar of power every time she uses a special attack. Then you have Feats of Energy. Every time you fill a bar of power, she basically gets a bar of power over 4-second power gain. And then you have Rich Get Richer, and typically by default she only has like 1 buff. She can have 2 buffs active if she gets 1 from Disarray. So how to deal with this fight? Well, the number 1 obvious answer is power control. Quite as simple as that. If you lock her down with magic, you can use Dr. Doom, but you need to be careful before you get to your level 3. Or you can use like Black Widow Clairvoyant, basically just control her power, and that's about it in this fight. But you can go in roundabout ways about it. You can use quite literally any champion. If you slow play up until a point where you get to 3 bars of power, and once you get to 3 bars of power, just don't use your power. Keep your 3 full power bars, and then you basically neutralize the Feats of Energy node, because she gains a bar of power over 4 seconds whenever you fill a bar of power. But if you're at 3 bars already, you will never fill a bar of power, so she will never gain this power gain in particular. And that is definitely a viable strategy that I used. I think I used it with like Mephisto to beat her, so you can definitely do it with pretty much anyone if you slow play it. Then also, Conflictor node can be bypassed with Apocalypse, because Apocalypse's debuffs can't be shrugged off. So that is another optional way how to bypass this thing. It's quite interesting, and it definitely does work, and will make, well, it's going to make for an easier fight. But overall, yeah, there are several options, and most of them involve just being very careful, slow playing. So again, either use power control champions, your Dr. Dooms, your Magics, your Claires, your whatevers, or slow play it. Ideally, do not throw special attacks, just get 3 bars of power. That will help you manage it a lot quicker. And that's about it. The Jubilee fight initially can be relatively frightening, but really you just need to kind of like refocus yourself and go slow. Now Tigra. Tigra is actually fairly straightforward. There is pull, so basically projectile attacks deal more damage, but that pull is kind of made mostly, well, not too important due to power shield, because you don't deal any damage anyways unless you throw special attack, and there are a ton of special attacks that are projectile, and then all special attacks are unblockable, which is fair enough, which Tiger often gets unblockable special attacks anyways. Combo party, can actually be beneficial to you. Just play very carefully, don't get hit. And Psychic Taunts. So champions that you can use here is pretty much anybody that has projectile attacks, because Psychic Taunts will not do you any damage because of Power Shield. So it can only deal damage to you if you are launching the physical kind of like attacks, but typically that's not going to be the case. So you can use Void, you can use Apocalypse, you can use Professor X, you can use Human Torch, you can use Archangel, you can use Nick Fury. Basically any champion that has some sort of form of projectile in the special attack will do pretty much fantastic here. The only trick is obviously don't get cornered by Tigra, and in order to do that, sometimes you might want to hit her on a block or something. Right, and now we have the boss, and the boss is a bit tricky. It has Micro Reflects, Enhanced Special 1, Long Distance Relationship, Performance Anxiety, which basically similar to Stage Fright, where you don't want to spam too many special attacks too quickly, and then she has Superior Special Attack. Right, so the Glancing Node obviously is quite nasty, and you're going to be taking quite a lot of damage. So you can try to deal with the Glancing Node in your typical ways by using, let's say, Archangel. Well, you're going to take some glancing damage, but Archangel can solo this fight. Then you can use Quake, you can use Namor. Those are fantastic options. And on top of all of that, I actually had a bit of fun. I nearly nuked her down in the Immortal Hulk, but that's not the best strategy. But there is another way how to work around the whole glancing issue, and that is to power lock and power drain her. So with magic, for instance, if she's under effect of power lock or power drained, she cannot glance. So read Storm Pyramid X's abilities very carefully, and you're going to see that you can switch off that glancing, and with that you can switch off Micro Reflect, and this fight becomes just about as straightforward as possible. So like Hulkbuster is actually a very good option for this fight, as well as like Magic and a bunch of other champions. If you can get rid of her prowesses, or if you can power lock or power drain her, you will disable the glancing and you will not take that damage back. Now, another interesting thing that was a very, very easy solo and walk down the memory lane was when I used Blade. Blade actually works absolutely fantastic for this fight, because you can just parry her and build up your power to 1 bar of power like that. So you basically just parry, hit her maybe once or twice, take a bit of glancing damage, get to a bar of power, and then drop your level 1. Now, Storm Pyramid X cannot glance special attack, so that is very important to remember, but I think there's still that bug where if you chain a special attack on a combo, she might be able to glance it. But it's also a little kind of like trick that Blade's level 1, for whatever reason, never gets glanced by any champion, like by Ant-Man, by Storm Pyramid X. So Blade actually can totally, very straightforward, easily solo this fight. You can check out my stream from yesterday to see that. But that is about it. So when it comes to overall difficulty about the boss rush, I don't think it's anything too hard. I think there are already several clips of like 4 stars clearing itemless. I did it as well on my stream yesterday. I might upload a 3-star run. I don't know if it's going to be completely itemless or I'm going to use like a revive or a couple, but I did several fights already with 3 stars. I did eventually mess up, I think, on Jubilee, but I got to Jubilee without using any items with 3 stars, so perhaps I'll give it another go and try to upload that video either today or tomorrow. But the boss rush definitely is very doable, very reasonable. The fights are fun and interesting. All of them have very interesting counters, so I do like the design. I don't think there's anything overly mean or cash grabby. And if you hear anybody complain that it's bullshit or whatever, you should just tell them to shut up. Say thank you to the beautiful ladies who designed all of these fights, and take it for what it is. A nice little piece of content that's very enjoyable. So I hope this video did help some of you, a lot of you. I do believe that vast majority of the people can clear this thing in the game. It doesn't require overly stacked roster or anything like that. It just requires a bit of research, a bit of patience, and a bit of thought process put behind it, rather than just trying to brute force it with your whatever Corvus or whatever champion. But yeah, that is about it. I hope you find this video helpful, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya. did with... Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information